a chip on my shoulder.
We gathered the 3 most successful coaches in Chicago basketball history. They combined 13 state championship rings.
Once you give it, you can't get it back.
Coming together to give Chicago the show it deserves.
What a play by Terry Cummings.
Of the best basketball culture in the world. This is 13 Rings.
That energy and that pain is real. So I think for me as a coach, the one thing that I want to show to my players is, one, it's okay to have a voice. 2, before you speak out, think through what you're going to say.
We got to be present. You know what I mean? We got to let the kids know that if it's something you really believe in, you got to stand on it. And
as a coach, we got to care more about winning games and getting back to business. We got to care more about what the kid is going through. And that's a big part of coaching, is the relationship that you form with the kids.
Since I've been the coach at Lanphier, is always tried to have my kids active in the community, doing community service and doing things like that, being actually, being seen and visible and vocal in the community.
What we do, but it's good to hear, you guys' input and how you guys feel and the things that you're going through down at Springfield versus what we're going through up here. And it's all the same when you look at it. It's all the same.
If people look at us the way that we look at each other, everything will be fine. But the athletes, they look at us just like a for entertainment.
I love Nick. And
yes, sir. Love you too, brother.
And it's nothing to do with basketball. That's just the connecting point. That's why sports matter. It's that I wouldn't know Nick if it weren't for basketball.
I'm going to leave it on this. We want all the smoke.
Oh!
Okay, let's do it.
We like giving it out too.
I'm going Ed Horton, Kevin Gamble, and Andre Iguodala across the front line.
It was like, it's about the public, No, it ain't always about the public league. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of great coaches around, and y'all some of them. Y'all some of them. Y'all
that took a big jump. Doesn't have to be the best player, but I'm just saying made the most progress.
I want you all to work with Tim. Okay, no more fourth place coaches. You guys work with him. Okay, get him together. Get that young buck together. Make him understand that we don't do fourth.
Gordon, I don't know how your brother let you wear that Under Armour.
Welcome to episode 7 of 13 Rings, and this is an incredibly fun episode for me because I feel like I've got 2 different groups of friends that are coming together here in this podcast. We have so many amazing things to talk about. Today is the Springfield episode. We've done a North Side episode, done a West Side episode. We've rotated different coaches that have won rings, and today we get a chance to bring in 3 coaches from the Springfield area who are all at different phases in their careers. And so what I want to do first is just say thank you to you guys for coming to join us. And it's so much fun to get to know you guys on and off the court. And I'm just really excited for what this discussion is going to have. So first I want to introduce everybody. A lot of you guys have played each other in various tournaments and so forth. We've got, I'll just go, left to right on my screen here. We got LT, Lawrence Thomas from Southeast. He's been the head coach there since 2008. Played in the 2018 state championship game against Nick Irvin's Morgan Park Mustangs. That was an awesome matchup. And we've got Blake Turner, who's been coaching at Lanphier since 2012 and was an assistant there before that. He took his team to state in 2017. Also played against Nick, so there's another tie-in there at that state tournament. And then Tim Allen, who's at the beginning of his career. So we've got somebody who's kind of been around for a couple decades, somebody who's kind of mid-career, and then we've got an up-and-coming coach in Tim Allen from Sacred Heart Griffin, who, Tim, I think you might be the biggest fan of this podcast, too. He's been a great source of feedback, and he's just been a lot of a good source of positive energy. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And first of all, I'd like to say I'd like to have each of you introduce yourselves just very briefly and say, why is it important to you to be spending time on a Saturday talking about basketball? Why is this bigger than just basketball for you? And we'll start with LT.
First of all, I have nothing but respect for your panel. I've only played against, I think I played against Coach Ty. He came down here for a shootout. Probably got paid, I don't know how much money, because, he ain't coming down here for nothing. So we played against him. And I played against him. We played each other when he was at Mean Street, and I had AI9 at that time, No Jail Eastern in that group. And I know he had Lonzo Burge in that group. I've never played against Coach Smith, and, I'm not rushing to do it. Especially, he man just got another transfer earlier. So I'm not messing with him. I'm not trying to mess with him. And I had no luck against Nick, but Nick's always fun. Whether you win or lose, Nick's fun. He's entertaining. I never seen the coach call a timeout. Next thing I know, he's on the other side of the free throw line, away from his basket. I've never seen that before.
State tournament, though.
Yeah, in the state tournament. I'm like, I had nothing but love for him. I'm like, I ain't never seen this before. So, Nick's entertaining. But I have nothing but great respect for this panel, man. You named it right, 13 rings. All these cats. These brothers have had phenomenal players, but they've led by example. And, every chance I get, I look at them, and if there's something to steal, I try to take something away from, how they present themselves, how they present their program. So I got nothing but love for this panel, and, it's a great thing that you started here.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now, Mr. Blake Turner, you've got Lanphier pumping right now. You just kept that juggernaut going. You made the state tournament. You got a family, and you got a job, and you got so much going on in your life. Why is basketball something you invest in, and why are you here today?
It's just something that's been in my life, since I can remember. I've got a great amount of love for it. And, coming through Lanphier, the history of the program, playing there, and then actually having the opportunity to come back and lead the program, it speaks volumes around here. And, I'm just proud to be in the position that I'm in. I want to echo the sentiments of LT with the panel. I think there's a great panel here. I got a great deal of respect for all you guys. I haven't officially played against Coach Slaughter and Coach Smith in a IHSA game, but we used to come up to DePaul, if you guys remember, and we had some battles up there. That was a big time tournament, and I really missed that. We had some fun up there, and I'm just happy to be here. And Nick, I'm still mad about what happened at State, the way that we'll just leave it at that, man. I got a lot of love for Nick, though. It's all good.
Blake, I think that's why Nick wanted us on the panel, because he knows what's
Stop it.
I can't understand no other reason that he wanted us on here.
Hey.
And here's the funny thing, Gordon. These
Yes,
guys are the first group to recognize that we only get people on here that we beat. We never get anybody to beat us.
Absolutely.
So, hey, I will say, Nick requested both you guys by name.
Figured as much.
But out of respect, truly.
My appreciation to him, man. I appreciate these guys.
No, he's fans of you guys.
Now we can't get a hold of them no more. So
no. So then Tim Allen is joining us too from Sacred Heart Griffin, and man, you talk about a guy who just has a heart for kids. I mean, that man, just genuinely cares about. He was invested into the IESA scene with the middle schoolers, and now he's taken over at the very beginning of his career as a high school head coach. And so I know you want to ask some questions maybe a little bit later on, but Tim, why are you here right now on a Saturday when you could be out having fun with Pastor Calvin?
It's a blessing. It's a good opportunity. I watch the podcast every week, and then have the opportunity to be on here with such great coaches. And Ty don't realize I called him about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I was asking him about will they let junior highs in their Chicago Elite Classic. He was like, let me get back with you. And I think they passed a rule where junior highs couldn't play before high school, because I wanted to take my team down there and show them what we got. We used to play in the Ricky Moore Classic in Chicago at Collins High School. And I think I met Rob down there. And then just watching Blake play against Morgan Park, and then seeing Southeast play against Morgan Park with LT, and just watching you guys, I'm a great thief. So before I became a high school coach, my other two, LT and Blake, let me into their gyms, and I try to steal what I can. And I learned a lot just by watching you guys on 13 Rings. And anything I can steal, I'm gonna steal it. So I'm gonna let you know now.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I really have a soft spot in my heart for all 6 of the men that are on this podcast. Really big fans of all the different tools that you guys bring. And, you know, this is the week of soul searching, right? The past 2 weeks especially. You can't not lay awake at night, wonder how can we be part of the solution. And each of you guys is programmed in a really unique way. You each have totally different styles of handling things personally, publicly. It's like we got this amazing tool chest right here. Some of you are saws, some of you are hammers, some of you are the levels, you know, to make sure that you're making the right marks. And so my question to you, and anybody can jump in on this, is how can we use basketball and your platform to help combat racism in this country?
Come on, Ty, it's your thing.
Your thing, Ty. You know you want to jump in.
Well, you guys always throw me out front. I mean, it hurts my heart when I have to talk about this stuff. But really, on a real note, I think to all the coaches, LT, Blake, and Tim, it is from our standpoint an honor to have you guys be with us. I think so many times we get confused, or people are about the relationship of coaches, and coaches have relationships across geographical diagrams, and you guys are in Springfield, we're in Chicago, but what we are all doing is the same. And so for that, I just wanted to welcome you guys to the podcast this weekend. And, Tim, to you, everyone on this panel is somewhat of a thief. Everything that most of us have done, we've either stolen it from someone and called it our own, or got it and tweaked it, and we became the masters of it. So don't feel bad about that. I'm a thief too, and I've been stealing every week too. Rob knows that. I now know why he plays zone. But on the bigger,
you remember that?
I'm not gonna ever forget it. But on a bigger note, and a far more important note, I think, Gordon, as you said, we're really at a crossroads. I think when we look at ourselves as a nation, not just as basketball coaches, but as a nation. And when we actually step back and we view all of the things that have taken place over the last 7-8 days, and then we ask ourselves the question, why? I think the answers are a multitude. Some are simple, some are a little more complex, but the baseline answer is you have a group of people that for 400 years have been marginalized. And I think when we all, as Americans, as people across this country, we viewed what happened to George Floyd, and we saw it, and I just think every man, woman, boy, and girl was just horrified by what we saw. And so when we look at those kinds of actions, and then to know that these are not things that happen in isolation, they're going on all the time, oftentimes outside of a camera. And if not for a camera, we would probably not be at this point today. So I think as a basketball coach, one of the things, if we were talking with our players, I know we have in the past, and we will continue to do it. We talked about this with the Ahmaud Arbery case just a couple of weeks ago. It seems like 2 years now that we had a black boy shot down while jogging. Now because we have a black man who was murdered by having people place their knee on his neck, I think the thing we have people is very simply, is this the kind of nation that you want to live? Is this where you want to live? And if it's not what you want to live in, you have to decide that you have to be the change. And that's the message that I try to relay to the young people in our program, and any young person that I talk to, is you kind of have to be the change that you want to see. And how do you do that? By doing more, by communicating with people that are not like you, and just talking. I mean, because there's so many different views, and clearly if anybody follows me on Twitter, my views are views of a 55-year-old man that has decided that I can no longer stay silent on the sideline and not tell the truth. I believe I have to tell the truth. And I know that everybody doesn't have the same temperament or the same willingness to do it as I do. But you know what I've decided is that we can't sit by any longer and allow these things to happen and we say nothing. Because I think when people see us, and when I say us, I mean as men, whether we're black, white, green, or blue, and they don't see you doing, or they don't know the things that you do, and they don't hear the things that you say, they take it as complicity. They believe that you don't mind what's going on, and oftentimes that's not the case. So I decided I'm going to say it. And then what I'll say, and I'll talk more as you guys talk, but I think white America needs to step back and ask themselves, we have an incredibly large part to play, because the reality of it is racism is real. And there's nothing that black people can do to stop white people from being racist. We're not the catalyst for racism. Our skin color, unfortunately, is what drives people to dislike people that look like me. And it's just real. And I'm not saying all white people, and I don't want anyone to say, oh, that Tyrone is, no, I'm not. I have a lot of friends that are white that I get along with. Gordon, I know Gordon. Gordon is white, I get along with Gordon. But the fact of the matter is, there is a segment of our society that is racist. And as a result of it, they have no empathy, they have no feelings. And so the things that they do are the reasons that we see George Floyd getting choked to death. And with a guy with 8 minutes, he's there for 8 minutes. It's not like it was, oh my God, it was an accident. He was there and he didn't mind being there. You know, when you look at a 75-year-old man, police brutality, all of those things. And it's not just white police to black people, it's black police to black people. Police brutality is real. It's real. I don't think there's a man on this panel, with maybe you, Gordon, with the exception, that has had an encounter with a policeman that was untoward, that wasn't proper. So the inner effort and the despair amongst the people in the streets, not the looters, not the vandals, but the legitimate protesters, that energy and that pain is real. So I think for me as a coach, the one thing that I want to show to my players is, one, it's okay to have a voice. Two, before you speak out, think through what you're going to say. I think I heard Nick say today, do the research on it and actually be informed about what you're talking about. Don't just join in the group because it's fashionable. Don't just join in because it's, you know, it's the flavor of the day. Actually have a conviction. And as I told our guys, if you have legitimate conviction, I will, for one, stand with you, because at the end of the day, this is the land in the world that you have to live. So again, I could go on and on and on. I could touch on the political ramifications, the need to vote. I could talk about a lot of different things, but you know, I don't want to monopolize the time. We have some other guys that I'm sure want to weigh in to some degree.
You took all our time up. That's why I wanted you to go, because I knew if you went any other place, we were going to be. I mean, you're right, but I just know you took all our time. So yeah,
you touched everything.
But you put me out there. I mean, you always put me out there.
No, it was a reason why I put you out there, because I knew that you was. I know how passionate you are about this. So
and you speak from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's a 55-year heart. You know,
right.
I've had with my young coaches, we have gone on and on, literally for the week, just trying to understand how young people feel versus how 55-year-old people feel. And I would tell all of you guys, the feelings are not different, but there's some variances to them. You know, for guys that are 25 and 30, they see it differently than I do as a 50. I believe that we can do things in a more peaceful and a more systematic manner. The young people don't care about systematic. They don't care about quiet. They don't. And I cannot say that I completely disagree with them. I'm just trying to see how we can get to a resolution. So it is something that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate not because of me. I'm passionate for all these young boys that all of us coach. And the majority of us are coaching boys that look like us. And the boys that we coach invariably have a high probability of being involved with police. And the involvement is not going to be positive. And I said this to a friend of mine who happened to be white. I said, when a white kid sees a policeman, he stops him to get direction. When a black kid sees a policeman, he wants to run so as not to die. And I know it seems like hyperbole, but that's the reality. Young kids today have zero affinity for the police. And mind you, I talk like this as a person that has many policemen in my family, and I don't care to go into that. So it's not an issue of black or white. It's just the overall spectrum of how police interact with black and brown boys in particular. And now we're starting to see an uptick even with our black and brown females. So I am passionate about it. I could go on all day, and that could be the whole, I could get rid of 13 rings and go down to just 3 rings and have my own show about that.
But you said something earlier in your statements that a lot of them are saying, nobody listens to us.
Oh.
You know, we've been trying to tell you guys this for a while. You're not outside, you're not in the streets, and we're saying, okay, we know this. And now they're saying that we went to this level of where we at. Now everybody listening to us. It took for us to go to this part and be destructive for somebody to finally listen. You know, and that's huge in the process, because they do speak, and a lot of times people don't listen to them. You know
what, Rob, not to cut you off, but you know what it's like, and I thought about all of that. You're right. All of us as coaches have been there, and I always like to bring the analogy of basketball to the real world. We've all played in those games where the teams were hacking, and it was really hard foul.
Nick, you playing more
knocking you down, and they were well, that's the battle of Vincennes. We can't bring Vincennes up. But and you as a coach, you go to the ref and you say, ref, you got to clean this up. Because if you don't clean this up, it's going to be a fight. That's what Colin Kaepernick was trying to tell them. Guys, y'all got to clean this up. If you don't clean this up, it's going to be a fight. And today they've got the fight.
Yeah, I agree with Coach Ty, because, you know, when he brought up Kaepernick, too many times that, you know, our kids, and we allow you know, the staff, the teachers, and the administrators to script what we really want to say, and they want to script it the way they want it to come out. And you know, this is showing that, you know, we gotta be present. You know what I mean? We gotta let the kids know that if it's something you really believe in, you got to stand on it. And you know, these, you know, we have staffs and, you know, administrators and people that want to, you know, don't want to have the tough conversations. They rather, you know, scoot around things and talk about what they want to talk about, but they don't want to hit it head on, you know, what's really going on out here. And we keep losing humans out here, you know what I mean? Our Black people getting murdered. You know, we need to have this discussion. You know, you guys need to see, they need to see how it is. You know, they need to see from the viewpoint that we seeing it from, and it's really happening. This is just not fake, you know what I mean? You know, we don't have leadership from the top that we should be getting, you know what I mean? That's a joke, you know, so, you know, it's really that we need to stay with our kids and have them understand that you just can't look at that house, you know what I mean, and think leadership's coming from there, because that's a comedy show, you know, that's a joke. So we got to be, that puts us more into these young kids' lives. And I'm not just talking about the players, I'm talking about the people we see every day in the school. You know what I mean? I don't care who it is, we got to be present now. And what Coach Ty said is very important. And, you know, that's what we have to be. We have to be consistent, man, because people think that, you know, things are a joke. And then when things happen, you know, they want to hee-haw around. But, you know, Coach Ty, I'm 60. I'm not hee-hawing no more. You know what I mean? Right. What need to be said, need to be said. And if it's uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable. You know, we can talk about, you know, it's funny that we can have the conversation about, you know, pep assemblies and plays and all this, but then when something like, you know, what happened 11 days ago, when that come up, you know, we all hush now. You understand? We don't want to talk about that. You know, we want to act like it really didn't happen. And what's all the ruckus about? Well, this is everyday life for us. You know what I mean? So we must be present. We got to stand on it. We have to make them be consistent, and we cannot drop the ball on this. So I'm not going to tie up all the time, but we cannot drop the ball on this. We have to be present. We have to stay on our kids. We have to be consistent with our kids and let them know that this is real.
Yeah, I think it's bigger than the sports right now. I think it's bigger than sports right now, because most people look at athletes, just a black athlete, just a basketball player, just a football player. And, you know, like the one lady made the comment about LeBron James, shut up and dribble, you know. So we got a voice, and we need to let everybody know that we here together as one, and that, you know, to the kids' part, they need to know. We need to have tough conversation with them. Their parents need to have tough conversation with them, just like my mom and dad did. You know, all Caucasian people is not bad. Gordon, men, you like brothers. I got a number of other Caucasian friends that I'm very, very close with and tight with, but it's not them. It's not them. Police brutality out here is awful. You know, just to look at that guy have his knee on George Floyd neck, that's uncalled for. And I think that hit home with a lot of people in general, you know, the people of color. It hit everybody, you know, and people feel bad about what's going on. So, you know, if people look at us the way that we look at each other, everything will be fine. But the athletes, they look at us just like for entertainment. You know, most of the guys in the NBA are black, best players in the world. So why not have a voice? So the way that lady attacked LeBron James wasn't right. Especially if she's gonna attack LeBron, but then she's a fan of Drew Brees, what he says. You know what I mean? We not having that.
Yeah. And I think Will Smith had a quote the other day that was huge. He said, racism hasn't just started, it's just now starting to be filmed.
Yeah.
You know, so this has been going on for a while that people didn't see. You know, you heard about it, but now with these cameras, every time something like this comes up, people pulling their cameras out so you can see it. You know, and that's huge right now for what's going on. I mean, and to be able to watch that whole video of the Floyd incident it was sad to watch on TV, to watch somebody be murdered, because that's what that was. Murder. You know, and I don't know the severity of Minnesota and how they do things, but I also saw a video of when the ambulance came. Those were police officers.
Police officers, yeah.
Those guys had guns on their side to take him off that stretcher, to put him on that stretcher. That wasn't a team of people from the from the hospital or nothing. Them people were police officers.
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't know, you know, how they, you know, move around in Minnesota with what they're doing, but I think it's going to be some other stuff behind all of this when people really get to watching and see, because there's no way that you have some other officers coming to pick him up to put him in an ambulance. That just kind of that bothered me a little bit. Like, and
then they didn't know how to put him on the gurney. They didn't know how to put him on there.
I mean, it was eye opening, you know, and I think that's what kind of stirred up a lot of the stuff. And young kids don't know, or you know, they don't really know a lot about certain things, so they act out. We know that as coaches at working in the schools and stuff like that. Sometimes the way they get their point across is they act out. Not, you know, you watch some kids and they just act out, and you want to know why they're acting like that. And it's because it's something deep down inside that they're not able to say or tell us. And then with this, how they did it, we're just going to tear it up and they're going to listen in. Yeah. You know, and then that's what happened. And people want to call them all these different things and say that. And I saw another video of them talking about, it was called something bad media talk. So they had a video of the black kids looting and doing all those things, and they was calling them savages and all this. And then they showed some white kids who were doing stuff after a Kentucky basketball game where they burnt up a car and did that. And their response was, oh, those just kids having some fun. You know, they was busting out windows. Oh, they're just enjoying the moment because and then they reversed it and had the terms going to the white kids. They look at those savages, look at that. And it's just the words that you use to make people think certain ways about people, you know, and that shouldn't happen, you know. No. We could have said that was some kids just having some fun, you know, and we know it's not, but that's what we could have used. That could have been the verbiage that could have been used. So I just think a lot of it, the media does a lot with it. You know, we just have to, like LT said, we have to educate our kids more on what's going on. And the people that's in charge have to hit home with that. And you cannot sweep it under the rug like it doesn't exist. Because it does exist. I mean, and I went to school in Wyoming. So the only people that was black was the basketball players. That's it. So I had to adjust with what was going on. I had never been around, you know, white people like that. But I was with them every day. You know, so I had to adjust. Of course, we had some who just did not like blacks at all. You had some that was, you know, I thought they was black. You know, that's just how they acted and carried themselves. So it's just huge, and our kids need to know that because some of them don't even never have those encounters with them. I know here in Chicago, they don't have that many encounters with them until they're out in the real world. You know, that's the only time they have it. I mean, Ty may be a little different because his school is kind of mixed, but at Simeon, it's 98% black. So they don't have those interactions with white people like that to understand that either.
Blake and Tim, I love both of you guys, and you guys have very different styles. Blake, you are so fiery, and it's awesome.
Right.
And you're maybe the sledgehammer in the toolbox sometimes, and I love that about you. It's like no one's gonna like give more effort than you. And Tim, you're more like a scalpel. Like you're just like you've just got such a kindness about you, and I know you're intense on the inside, and you were a great player at Eisenhower yourself. You guys are very different in terms of your styles. How will you use basketball to combat racism going forward here? I'm curious to hear both your thoughts.
Well, I reached out to my kids. I've talked to them. One of the things that I've done since I've been the coach at Lanphier is always tried to have my kids active in the community, doing community service and doing things like that, being seen and visible and vocal in the community. So I think that we have a great platform. I think that, the one thing that I think, and I had to carefully think about it, is I don't think it's fair for me to craft a message from my team without knowing where they all come from. So I sent them a group message on text message. We communicate like that, and I just told them, the things that our country is going through right now are real, and everyone has their own feelings about it. And your feelings are valid. And if you want to talk about it in a one-on-one situation, I'm here to talk because I want to understand where all of my players are coming from so that I can relate to them. My personal feelings on it are my personal feelings. And I think that, of course, we've all had issues with the police. We've all been unfairly targeted. But I think right now the beauty of it is that you've got a whole lot of white and other people that have joined in the fight. And I think it has more of a voice now. And I think that is because of just the evolution of our country and where we've come from. Because I can remember when I was growing up, the stories that my dad and my mom told me about when they were growing up. And I experienced some of those things growing up, but not on that scale. And I think right now, a couple generations past me, now, I think that there's a lot of mixed families. There's a lot of people who used to feel like that have mixed grandkids. So it's hard to keep that. I hate black people, but you've got 6 grandkids that are part black. Do you hate them too? And I think that those are some of the people that are at the front line. And I think that they've actually changed and evolved their feelings. And now they're coming out in support. And I think you have the peaceful protesters that are doing that. But then again, you also have the people that are fed up and the people that they don't care. It's I don't care. It's a voice. And, I've watched I watch a lot of History Channel. I watch a lot of stuff. And I listen to a lot of people talking. And I listened to something the other day and they were talking about, we should be nonviolent, et cetera, et cetera. Well, our country was founded on violence. Boston Tea Party was a revolt. We got sick of being treated the way we were treated, and we said, we're not going for it anymore. This is our country, and if you come back over here with that stuff, we're going to have a problem. And so now I think that's where this movement is. I think that this movement is, enough is enough. We can sit there and we can watch black people get killed constantly and turn our heads. But, it's just, this guy, we're all basketball coaches for over 8 minutes. There are things, that's a quarter of a basketball game. There's a lot of things that happen in 8 minutes in a basketball game.
Yeah.
And that guy just sat there choking that guy to death and just looked at the camera like, so I don't care, you're recording me, nothing's going to happen. And I think that angered people to the point now that we are where we are. And I don't think it's going to change. I think that there's going to be some real change. I think there's going to be some real political changes in policies, et cetera. And I think it's necessary.
All right, so Tim, out of pain, what kind of hope do you have, and how are you hoping to to create that change?
I mean, I got a lot of hope. I agree with what Blake said, is that I can't put my personal opinions on the kids, but I can be the man that I'm supposed to be and be the example around the kids. We do a lot of community stuff, a lot of team building, because I'm a very diverse team. So we, minority white team, majority white team, and then we have several African Americans on the team. So bringing them together and letting them realize that even though you're different, each one of you are special. And what we cannot do as being older in our generation, we can't say, okay, my dad doesn't like whites, or my dad doesn't like blacks, so I'm gonna put that on my kids. I think the younger generation is more open to change than any generation that we've dealt with, because they've dealt with African Americans, or African Americans dealt with Caucasians at a higher rate than grandpa, and and so it's just like I gave the analogy to one of my kids, is if you had several bad girlfriends and you get in a relationship, you're going to treat that girl with those trust issues and those situations. Don't bring that down on the kids. I'm not going to make my son view life the way I view life. And so that's what we want to pass, and just keep loving the kids and let them, intermingle and love each other. When we go to war and we go to battle, we about to play Blake or LT, it don't matter what color you is. We want to win. And that's how you join together. Even if the world could be like, if the world could be like a basketball team, we have different views, different styles, different ways of playing, but the goal is to win, and everybody wants to win. It can't just be one race that wins. Like, everybody wants to win, and we got to come together for that. I don't down people for their thoughts or their beliefs. I have my personal ones, but as a coach, I'm all about unity. But also, it also brings up what Rob was talking about. We got to have those conversations. Like, I can't just go back to practice and it's just business as usual, because there are kids that could be hurt. Some kids could be unaffected, but there are kids that could be hurted by it. And I don't think as a coach, we got to care more about winning games and getting back to business. We got to care more about what the kid is going through. And that's a big part of coaching, is the relationship that you form with the kids. So conversation you got to have with administration, I've had with the football coaches, and everybody's open to listening. I think at this point in time, people are more open to listen than they ever have been. And it's a shame, because we've been getting shot, killed for many years. It's a shame that it took 8 minutes of somebody putting a knee on someone's neck for someone to be open about, for people like, oh, it really happens. For it to be recorded. Imagine what was happening when there was no phones, when it wasn't recorded. We was able to sweep it under the rug because we couldn't see it, and it wasn't being shared on social media over and over and over again. But now it's recorded, shared on social media over and over again. And so hopefully it brings about real change and policy changes and brings us together. I believe that everything works together for the good in some type of way. So hopefully it's working together for the good.
Quick follow-up for you, Tim, because you are the only person that is in the position of being able to talk about how your faith interacts with this openly, because you're at a private school. That's an interesting perspective. I think you're in some ways able to maybe even share more about what you feel, and than somebody that works at a public school. How do you approach it from that perspective? From a faith
scripturally wise, I talk to the kids that you can't possibly, the Bible says that you can't possibly hate someone and love God who you have not seen. So at a school that we preach loving one another, but you dislike him because he's a Democrat, or you dislike him because he's a Republican, or you dislike him because he's white, or you dislike him because he's black, that's not possible. It don't add up together. As a team, it shouldn't matter what color you are, what gender you are, or what position you hold, or who you vote for. I still have to love you. I can disagree with you. I can be wrong, but I still have to love you. We want to, present the love of Christ. The scriptures say, I won't get back into it, but he died for us, while we were sinners, while we were nothing, while we were messing up. Christ still died for us. So forget my opinion. I still gotta love. I gotta love kids that are nothing like me, that don't believe like me, that don't think like me. I still gotta love them. So that's what we we love. We want to preach love and unity, but also we're not skipping the conversations of what's going on in the world. We want to attack that. We're not hiding behind it, not using the Bible to hide behind what's the issues that are going on. So.
Wow, that was incredible. Anybody like to add on something they heard?
Well, I just want to add another little point. You know, I read some of Roger Goodell comments about half of the NFL are black, and you know he gonna get behind them, and he gonna have a voice in this as well. You know, but he probably should have been spoke out. You know, when Colin Kaepernick spoke out and you know voiced his opinion, he probably should have backed him then, but he understand, he get it. So I mean, that's a good point. That's a good thing he made, and when I read it, that was a good thing about him.
Yeah, and I respect a lot of the coaches who you know, they're starting to step up now. You know, sometimes I think they kind of are worried about, you know, how far they should go or stuff like that. But kind of like Ty said, you know, when you get to a certain point, I mean, what's going to happen to me for speaking up on what I believe? You know, what can happen to me for speaking up for what I believe? And those guys might have been, you know, understanding this for a while, but just didn't want to speak out on it. And I guess, like Tim said, after watching that over and over and over and over, people are like, man, this is real. You know, this is actually real, and this just happened to this young man. And now, you know, you have, you know, I think I saw something with Tom Izzo. He said something. I mean, people are stepping up and saying something. And they've been dealing with, you know, African Americans for a while. You know, so they may have a lot of stories that they know already that, you know, just was told inside of their, you know, own personal space. So they kind of know that. So if this game, especially basketball, and maybe a little bit of football too, baseball is not as much, but and it's really any sport. But if you're dealing with African Americans, it's no way that you can't love them or treat them how they're supposed to be treated. You know, those kids, when they go with Nick, them are gonna be like his kids. Mm-hmm. You know, no matter what race they are, he's gonna have to treat them like, you know, his kids. I can't remember the coach at what team who was throwing the balls at the kids, and some years ago, and he got fired. It was a while ago. I mean,
that was the coach at Rutgers.
Mike
Rice. Mike Rice.
He's the coach at Chicago State. Mike Rice.
Yeah. So those things, but you know, hopefully we could just move forward. You know, and things can get better. We know it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a process, but as long as people starting to listen and they see what's going on, that can start change, you know, right there.
I think that we just have to stay awake, gentlemen, because you know, when someone's life gets taken away in February and we don't see the video until it leaks out in end of May, come on now. So someone made the decision that we just gonna sweep this under the rug for, you know, a couple months.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like Tim said, it took eight minutes for us to get our voice heard.
I think the beauty of it now is that, you know, we all know that money runs everything, and I'm starting to see I got a lot of emails of this past week from, you know, my credit card companies, my cable company, magazines everybody's taking a stance on it and starting to say that they support the movement and that Black Lives Matter to them. And now, you know, at the end of this week, you're starting to see corporations making donations to movements that support the matter. And, you know, Jordan just donated $100 million yesterday. And, you know, you just start seeing things like that, and you hope and pray that it just continues to go in the right way and that the money's used for the right thing. But I think that, you know, when you get the right people behind it, it gets steam.
Now, Ty, you see all five of us talk, and that's how much time you took. Just like
hold on. And let me the first thing I need to say is I'm thankful that LT is on here today, because it's finally somebody older than me. That's the first thing. So I'm excited about that. But
I'm here for you.
I appreciate that, LT. The only thing that I'll say, though, and again, guys, because everybody has basically I mean, we could talk for hours about this because it's not a problem that started last night and it's not going to end tonight. But what I will say that I'm really kind of a half full kind of guy, and I'm inspired by what I'm seeing across the country and across the world. And I think someone said it, when we start to get it, and we can look back over the history, when any of the movements that we've had, when we've had intricate support from the white community, we managed to move the needle. And I can tell you, white America, on the things that I'm seeing, and I'm not everywhere, of course, like none of us are, but the things that I'm seeing suggest that there's a groundswell amongst white America that is also recognized that something doesn't seem right about this to me. And, you know, Blake said it, the credit card companies, I'm getting notices from my credit card companies, but they're telling me that my bill is behind. They're not telling me they're telling me. But I think America recognizes that in the Black community, there is something that's probably to them more valuable than Black lives. That's Black green dollars. And they want to make sure that as we plan, the next plan is not to take our dollars out of their industry. So as a result of that, they're getting on the front side. So the last thing I'll say is that now what we've got is we got their attention. We now need to understand what the demands are, and we need to understand what the next move is. Not the last move, but what the next move is. What are we doing when we come out of the locker room at halftime? What are we doing in the locker room when we come out at halftime? And I hope that we can continue to strategize and continue to move forward.
All right. Would anybody like to add anything? Anything stir up another comment?
You know what? I'm going to do like Rob always does. I'm going to ask a question. Gordon, as the only non-African American on the panel, what do you see? What do you feel? What the people that you talk to, and again, we don't ask for names, but what do they think? What do they say?
You took my question, Ty.
I know it because I'm tired of you asking all the questions. I'm tired of it.
Just so I have a good understanding, are you talking about the like other white people I talk to, or like my Black friends, or like what?
No. If any of your Black friends don't agree or has a different opinion, the other 5 Black people on here, you should run from him. So, but no, we're really more concerned about the ones that don't look like us. What do they think? What do they? And then again, you might have different opinions. I don't know. And you don't have to name them. At least not on the air. Tell us offline so I can tweet them.
I think you know, my identity is my faith. That's, you know, I really believe that the old Gordon, you know, died when I accepted Jesus into my life. So that's my filter. That's who I choose to associate myself with a lot of times, like on really deep issues. That's my identity now. And so I view everything through that lens. It's not like a morality code that I applied to my life. It's like, I really believe I have new life that gives me a perspective on these things that I didn't have before. And so I made a post about this before, but God had like virtually nothing in common with me. I'm this little ant, right, that is messing up all the time and is flawed. And he stepped into my life and cared deeply about what I care about and cared about my thriving. And so that's what informs everything in my life is, wow, how can I be that for somebody else? And so I would say that the people that I talk to, that I choose to have these conversations with, are really in pain over it too. And I think that if you do profess to have that faith, like Tim said, then you have to be grieved about it too. And it's not just like a cute little hashtag you put on social media. You got to live it. Mm-hmm. And so I've just been spending the past few weeks thinking like how I feel my friends and brothers' pain. That's undeniable. You can have whatever perspective on this issue. It's undeniable that there's this horrible pain that people are feeling. And it really just, you know, makes my head want to explode sometimes, just because I'm like, you just want to know, like, what can I do? you know? And so I've just been spending the past couple weeks thinking to myself, what is my role in this? Am I a sledgehammer? Am I the scalpel? Like I said, am I the shovel? And for me, it's storytelling. So I've just been asking people in our viewing area to send in stories and messages of hope, basically, of ways that sports bring us together. Because I do think that it's not an accident that I'm here right now talking about basketball. I wasn't a basketball player, you know, but this is my sphere of influence, is sports storytelling. So I'm going to use every ounce of my platform to bring change to this country and to influence people in whatever way I can. And I listen a lot. I've really gained a lot of great perspective from this past hour that we've been talking. And now it's my turn to be a saw or to be a hammer and to tell these stories. And so that's kind of my position on it. I don't really, position's kind of a funny word because that's as if it's like an opinion. It's not an opinion. This pain is real. This problem is very real. Doesn't matter what your political or spiritual affiliation is. It's real. Capital R, real. Sorry, 1 second. I think we're having a connection issue. 1 second, Ty.
I think that friends that speak.
Oh no. I bet he's making a really good point. Ty, we can't hear you.
Man, you know he's making a great point right now. Man, Ty, you gotta wait. You gotta wait a little bit.
He froze.
Dang.
He froze.
Does anyone want to guess what Ty was saying?
Well, he'll just, speaking from his heart. That's what we'll say.
Shoot. Okay. Well, we'll wait for him to come back. But did it answer the question? I hope that answered the question. I know I rambled, but
Yeah, you always be on point with stuff anyway. So.
No, you answered the question. I mean, it's the way you put it was great. You know what I'm saying? You answered it. It's for me. I'm on here because I know that you truly trying to make a difference.
Yeah.
That's why I'm even on here. It's and when Nick first said let's do this show, my thing was who am I doing it with? I don't just go out talking to anybody about my personal stuff and stuff like that and opening up to people like that. That's just not something I do. So when he said who it was and he trusts the person and these things, and that was my perspective. And then Ty was pretty much the same way. If you ask him, like, I asked him, did he know you? And he said, yeah, he's a really good guy, this, that, and other. So that was my reason of even being on or even going on, because, I don't just associate with anybody and do those things because, as we all know that's on here, the media can take these things one way and another way. That's even when people listen to it. They gonna have their opinions and take them for whichever way they want to take them for. So you have to make sure you on here with strong people who understand and have the same bag. And somebody call you, you're gonna be able to defend us for whatever, like, hey, this is his perception. This is what he thinks. This is how he, So that's the reason, because you can get on with some people and they don't respect. It's just like, hey, well, I don't know what he's talking about, this, that, and other. But I trust what you're saying, and I know I believe that you in for change in whatever race the people are or whoever are. Because look who you got on here. So, you know what I'm saying? So, and you did this with us. I do believe it. So we heard you. You sound like R2D2, but we did.
I don't know what that was. I think
you were making such a good point. And then
I don't know.
We all were imagining a good point being made.
But to what Rob said, if Gordon, if somebody has a problem with my position, don't defend me. Have them call me. Okay, just have them call. I'll take care of it. Now let's get to how Nick beats up on all these guys. Let's talk about that.
Wait. First, though, Ty, I think you were going to ask me something, and I want you to be, ask away. I do not represent white America. I mean, none of us.
No. You just
our
happen
people,
you just
but-
happen to be a part of it. You
Yeah.
don't represent it. No, and my question was when you saw the 8 minutes or whatever adoration of that you saw. I mean, was that just unbelievable? I mean, and I think that based on and I don't say it as a quick point. There are some that are now engaged. Why? Because when Ahmaud Arbery got shot, maybe not so much, or when Tamir Rice got shot, not so much, or you know, when Mr. Brown got choked out, not so much. But they happen to see this 8 minutes, and they realize that maybe these people are telling the truth. Maybe there is a problem. And so that's all I asked was, did it?
No, I think
Did
again,
more to you?
I'm speaking as an individual, not on behalf of 200 million people. But for me, I don't want to sound callous. It didn't change anything to me. I mean, I watched Do the Right Thing, in high school. I know about Radio Raheem. Like that's, that was one of the most shocking things that I ever saw. And, do Spike Lee and I have anything in common? We both like basketball. I don't think we have a lot in common. But his message reached me powerfully, back when I was in high school. And I think that was in a symphony of other experiences where I became aware of things like that. So, again, not to sound callous, it didn't change anything. I knew that we had these.
And that's a positive because you recognize it, and so that's fine. So, and I guess that was my point. Okay.
Yeah. I am very encouraged. I hate that it took one more tragedy to make it more of the conversation, but I'm very much like you, Ty. I'm a glass half full guy. So I'm always thinking about, wow, look, this can bring so much healing. That's just where my mind is how I've been put in. None of my parents didn't play sports. My dad's 6'5", never played a sport in his life. It could only be for a very specific reason that I am passionate about sports. I've been put in my shoes for a very specific reason. And so I've just been spending the past 10 years of my life thinking, why? How can I leverage this for the good of the community? So this is just one more reason to keep going. It's like media is the same as coaching. It's like none of us are in this for the money. Lord knows it's not for the money. It's because we care about kids, and I care about pain. It's like Nick said it, my thoughts exactly. Like we're like brothers at this point. Like he's in pain. That makes me feel like a 4-letter word, And I love Nick. And
yes, sir. Love you too, brother.
And it's nothing to do with basketball. That's just the connecting point. That's why sports matter. It's that I wouldn't know Nick if it weren't for basketball, and now we're brothers. And so I'm very encouraged for the individual hearts that could be transformed by this.
Gordon, I don't know how your brother let you wear that Under Armour.
Hey, come on. I told Ty I would.
I don't know why he did that.
Obviously, he's a stepbrother. Obviously.
I got some Lanphier Nike gear for you, man.
There you go. Now you're stepping it up.
I'll put
you even look better.
I'll put my LT2 retro jerseys. LT's son is the all-time leading scorer at Southeast. 1,900 points. He's a beast.
Oh, he got 19, huh?
1,900 points, right? LT2 is the all-time leading scorer?
Yes.
Okay.
We know who the best player come out of Lanphier. Easy Ed.
Okay.
Okay,
here we go.
All-American.
Okay, I feel
Horton, baby.
I've been looking forward to this all week.
It's
Okay,
an immediate pivot.
Pivot. Here we go. This is me pivoting. Okay. When I grew up in the Chicagoland area, I thought that the world ended at I-80. I just thought it was like you just drop off, right? So there's a cliff and there's a bunch of sea monsters or something down there. I don't know what was down there. Wrong.
Oh, yeah.
The past 4 years of my life, I have just been eyes wide open. The amazing basketball culture that exists in Springfield, Peoria, Decatur, Champaign, all over the place, East St. Louis. And so now we get to talk a little Chicago, Springfield trash talk here, okay? Let me lay out some of the Springfield icons, okay? And we're going to talk about a hypothetical game here. First, I want to ask the elder statesman here, Mr. LT, who are you bringing to the table in a 5-on-5? You pick a player, and then Blake pick a player, and then Tim pick a player, and build an all-time Springfield roster.
Ooh. I'm going Ed Horton, Kevin Gamble, and Andre Iguodala across the front line.
Okay, so that's the Finals MVP, a McDonald's All-American, Ed Horton, who played for the Bullets in the 80s and at Iowa. And then you're talking about Kevin Gamble, who had a 12-year career, I think, with the Celtics and a bunch of other teams. Okay.
And I'm going to let Blake have the rest. I'm going to let Blake finish it off.
I'm gonna finish the roster. I'm gonna put Rich McBride out there on the wing, knock some threes down, parade All-American, and I don't know. I'm gonna put the ball in Rennie Clemens' hands and let him run the point for me. He's the all-time leading scorer from this city. He played at Calvary, which is a 1A school, but Rennie's good. He was really good, and you know we couldn't really. We always knew how good he was here, but I think that the state appreciated how good he was when he went to Illinois and played at Illinois and had a really good career there. I think that would be a great 5 for us right there coming out of Springfield.
Man, y'all ain't have my man in the 5, huh?
Who's that?
Steve Dixon.
Steve Dixon is
You
good.
played against Steve Dixon?
That was my teammate. We played at AU together.
No.
Steve
Dixon was a bad boy.
He was really good.
Yeah, Snake. I call him Snake, man.
Hey, you look up and he got 15 rebounds and you don't know how.
I never seen nobody play the short corner like Steve Dixon.
Man, Steve Dixon was a bad boy.
And he put up 1 billion points, and then he went to Vincennes, right?
Yes.
And then he played, I think, 10 years overseas.
He played with Sean Marion and Vincennes, and then he committed to Carbondale. But Steve was really good, man. Steve, you know, LT talks about that short corner. When he's a few years younger than me. When I was growing up around here, we used to always play 1-on-1, but we played 2 dribbles. Yeah. And like that was the thing that all the guys would do. And Steve was the 2 dribble king. You couldn't beat him in 2 dribble 1-on-1.
Man, that boy was a dog.
Yeah.
I love me some Steve Dixon, baby.
Yeah,
Here's some other players.
You're not the only one.
Here's some other players that haven't even been mentioned. There was a center by the name of Dave Robish who played in the ABA and the NBA for 12, 13 years and was a star. So he's 6'10", and he took Kansas to the Final Four in the 70s. So you've got him. He's a Kansas Hall of Famer. Adding in he went to Springfield High, and then there's another player by the name of Tom Cole, who was an all Big Ten forward at Michigan way back when. So there's some other players too. And then also Jeff Walker from Lanphier is probably, I like to think of him almost as Springfield's Ronnie Fields. Do you think that's a fair estimate just in terms of somebody who had all of the potential in the world, who just had a couple bad choices, a couple tough breaks, and then he didn't quite live up to that potential? Would you, as the king of Lanphier Nation, Blake, would you agree with that?
Wholeheartedly. He was one of my teammates. He was fantastic. He was a great player, played well above the rim, highly recruited. He chose Iowa because he wanted to walk the same path that Ed Horton walked in. I think that if the cards would have played out right, you know, he may have had a Andre Iguodala type career, you know, if things, but you know, things don't always go the way they're playing. But I still see him around here. He still stops in the gym and talks to the kids. He still loves Lanphier basketball. So, you know, that's always a good thing.
Tim, you have anybody to add to the roster? Well, you got a Gator perspective, like I do.
I mean, from me being in Springfield, like Terry on and Larry Austin and Joakim Rose, I mean, they don't get as much credit as they deserve. I know everybody goes back to the old school, but Terry on is one of the best point guards I've seen, and Larry dominated the game while I was watching. I mean, he went down to Chicago, so every time we went down to Chicago with the junior high, everybody mentioned Larry Austin. So, I mean, Larry and Terrion Murdochs, like, they don't get the credit they deserve. Hopefully one day, years from now, when we talk about this, we'll be mentioning some Cyclones. But Terrion Murdochs and Larry Austin, definitely.
And you got
my coach, T. Murdochs, that was he could play some ball.
Terrion can play, man.
Man, Yak was, man, good, too.
Yeah, Yak was a really good player. You know, I thought about that question that you sent about the players over 4 years and the growth that they made.
Yeah.
For me, the players that I've coached, I would say Joakim Rose and Xavier Bishop. They both came in as, you know, Yak came in as a freshman and didn't know how to work out. You know, they used to have to. Larry Austin used to go to his house and pick her. You know, he'd call Yak and say, "We're going to work out." And Yak say, "Oh, I don't have a ride," or yada yada. You know, he started pulling up like, "I'm outside, let's go." You know, and then, you know, I watched him evolve, and now he's had a great career at every level that he's went to. And then Xavier Bishop, he was a kid that his freshman year, all he could do was shoot the ball. His sophomore year, he could put it on the ground a little bit, but he kept getting knocked down. So he worked on his body. His junior year, he started finishing and, you know, getting to the basket a lot more. And his senior year was cakewalk, you know, and he's the all-time leading scorer in Lanphier history. And that's saying a lot for a 5'8", you know.
He is amazing.
Yeah, and he scored 1,000 points in college. And, you know, he went to UMKC, scored 1,000 points there. And when Kareem Richardson left, he's at Montana State now, and they're excited about him. And you know, we're excited that, you know, he's going to get to play this year. So, you know, those two kids really, really, I think, grew in our program. And right now, I've got a kid, KJ Debrick, he was 6'8" when the season ended, and I haven't seen him, so he may have grown an inch or two. But
no wonder Nick left. No wonder Nick just packed up and left.
Man, I can't catch them boys, man. I had to get out.
But KJ was an overweight freshman that you know, that didn't really care about basketball, just kind of did it just to do it. Then as a sophomore, he came along, you know, towards the end of the year, and we moved him up to varsity. And then this year, he was our best player. And you know, when you have right now, KJ, I think he finally got it. I was excited to see him and the work that he would put in the offseason and how that would transpire to the summer, you know, but he's getting recruited, you know, he's getting recruited by guys, and he's excited, and he's turned into a leader, and he's made a great evolution for us as well.
Love it. Yeah, let's dive right into that topic. Growth. Who's somebody that you either watched from afar or that was in your own program that took a big jump? Doesn't have to be the best player, but I'm just saying made the most progress, made the biggest leap forward. Go Rob.
I mean, of course,
You already know who he going with.
I mean, no, I'm gonna skip AD.
What?
And I'm gonna skip AD.
You claimed him in the pre-production meeting.
I mean, hey, he wasn't good enough to play on our team, so hey, it's probably the dumbest thing I ever. Probably the dumbest thing I ever did coaching was not take him. But hey, you know, at the time he was, you know, but he that was incredible what he did. That was incredible. Actually, kind of knowing him from 8th grade. By him playing with Sonny Parker's, which is Jabari's dad, AAU team, and watching him play with those guys who were really good. And he really just sat in the corner and shot jump shots. You know, he had these big goggles on, and he just sat in the corner. It was like they was playing 4-on-5 because he just stood in the corner all the time. And it's like when they couldn't get a shot, they passed it to him, and then he'd just shoot. But just to watch him grow and then get taller, and he was really a guard, and to watch the things he was able to do, and then of course, him growing to be 6'8", 6'9", and just watching him play and then evolving as the best player in the country and a one and done guy at Kentucky and leading them to a national championship was just huge. Just watching him, just if you knew him from his growth from 8th grade all the way to college and now what he's doing right now in the NBA, and you know, we just didn't know at the time. We were bringing back a team that had just won it, and we were bringing everybody back, and you know, it would have been good for our team and our program if he had been a part of it too, but you know, it just didn't happen. So, but I think that's one. But I would definitely say my own kid that I had that I really, it would probably have to be Taylor Horton Tucker. You know, came in as this fat, chunky kid where everybody's like, you know, he's not going to be able to do these different things. But you could see his skill set was very, very high, but his body wouldn't let him do a lot of things that he wanted to do out on the court. So at the early part of his career, his recruitment wasn't good because he couldn't move like that. And I was telling people, I'm like, when his body gets right, he's going to be really good. You know, he got really long arms. You know, he would just understood the game so well. So for that growth, and then his senior year, the stuff that he did, you know, on a national level, you know, we went to the City of Palms, and I mean, Ty know that is a different animal. If you go to the City of Palms, that's not playing in the public league. That's not playing in Springfield. That's not playing anywhere. That's a different animal if you go to City of Palms. I mean, because you're playing the best teams every night. You know, and he ended up averaging like 22 down there, putting up some great numbers against some good people. And then just his growth was big for me. He would be the person I would take that what I saw as an incoming freshman to his senior year to see how far he got.
Coach Ty, you got a pretty unique perspective, right? What were the jumps that you saw from AD, and then I want to hear another player from you too.
Well, and actually, I didn't know much about AD early on. I saw him really kind of at the end. We wound up having to play them his senior year when he had become AD before he was Anthony, and then he became AD. It was really kind of amazing. I saw him in 8th grade. I would go to different events, and he would be there. And like Rob said, he was this kind of mid-sized kid with goggles, and you know, he's just kind of unconspicuous. And the next time I saw him, every college coach in the country was watching him play out in Indiana. You know, so when you think about it, I think his is probably a little less about the working and getting better, more about the natural. God gave him 7-8 more inches over a course of a year. I mean, when you think about that, that was an incredible thing. But for me, I think we had mentioned him and this gentleman about a week or so ago, Miles Reynolds, who played for me at Whitney Young. When Miles came in as an 8th grader, you know, nobody would have ever suspected that Miles was going to be really not only a college player, but really people doubted whether or not he would actually be an impact player on the varsity team. And Miles was a hellacious worker. I mean, he just loved basketball, wanted to be good, came from a very successful business family, and he had an older brother who played at Whitney Young on our state championship team. And Miles had decided really early on that he was going to do whatever he needed to do, no matter how many of the hours, days he had to work to get to that point. And he was a guy that was on our team in our program for 4 years, started on varsity for 3 years with Jaleel and Paul, and was probably the toughest kid on our team. You know, he was a heart and soul of our basketball team for the better part of 3 years. Now, fast forward, Miles goes on to college. He goes to St. Louis. Many people thought, wow, he's at St. Louis. That didn't really kind of go the way he wanted. He transferred out, and then he wound up ending up at Oklahoma. You know, he came behind Trey, you know, at Oklahoma. I mean, he was a kid at the beginning of his career. I don't think there was anybody in the city that would have said, man, he's going to be a college player. But by the end of his career, his basketball career, he was a starting and playing heavy minutes at Oklahoma after Trey Young. I mean, I tell anybody I would go to war with Miles Reynolds any day of the week and 3 times on Sunday. And, you know, we were playing Rob in his junior year. And in the first half, Miles was on fire. I don't know what Rob and those did at halftime, but they kind of put the fire out. They put the fire out. So, you know, but Miles, great player, great kid, great family. And it just, like you said, a kid that projected from beginning to end. I don't really know many that have been managed to do what he's done.
Well, for me, Anthony Davis, he made a big stride because when I watched him, like Rob and I would say, he had goggles on, but he always could shoot. He was more of like a shooter. He used to shoot. Then he grew to 6'11", 7 feet, wherever he is now, and he just blew up. Especially that year on the circuit when he played, he blew up. He definitely blew up. But I got two people that I coach. One was Billy Garrett. Billy Garrett came in, freshman, come from Texas Corpus Christi, but he was originally from Chicago or whatever. But, when he came in, I started him off on Frost-Off. And by the seventh game of his Frost-Off, he was in varsity. And he just got better and better, and he grew to 6'5" point guard. He made big strides, and he became one of the best players in the state of Illinois in that 2013 class, and he led me to a state championship. And another one is Josh Cunningham. Josh Cunningham, nobody didn't know nothing about Josh Cunningham when he came to Morgan Park. He never knew nothing.
Stop it.
Josh Cunningham, the one that started on, freshman, Frost-Off, he moved to varsity. So, he was one of them sleepers that he got better over the course of the years. And, he led me to back-to-back state championships and everything. So, them two really sticks out in my eyes, that they got better, come from great families and all that. So, them the two right there.
Love it. So you're talking about a player who went to DePaul and then Westchester Knicks, right? Were they the Knicks G League affiliate, and then Josh going from Bradley, big 6'8" power forward, then transferred to Dayton and even took his game even farther.
Yeah.
Those are two good answers. All right, let's get some Springfield flavor. LT or Tim, one of you guys, who do you got?
And do not say Andre Iguodala. We're not going to do that.
No, don't say it.
Do not say that.
These Chicago guys are sick of me talking about Andre Iguodala. They're probably like, if you bring that name up one more time.
That's our go-to, man. Don't take that.
Iggy was a bad boy in high school, though, man.
And he developed a lot. Neil Alexander, longtime Lincoln coach, he said that no player he's ever seen has jumped more in 1 year in the history. It's 800-something wins. He said Andre from junior to senior year was the biggest leap he's ever seen.
I'll start with a few kids that I coached to be real quick. One of the kids I coached in junior high, and he actually went to play for LT. Stephon Sims, we call him Shake. And Stephon couldn't shoot the ball at all. He worked really hard. He was a hustle player. And I got to see him his senior year, watch him a lot when LT they was going on that run, and Stephon making step backs, he making his free throws. LT did a really good job with improving him. He played at state against Nick, when they played against Morgan Park.
Nick's buddy.
Watching what he was able to do with Shake was pretty amazing, because most people would leave Shake open, but not senior year. Shake was making those shots. He was making his free throws. East St. Louis, seen him make about 4 or 5 step backs. I'm like, man, he went from not making any shots to step backs and hitting threes. And then two kids I coached a kid named Charlie Hamilton. When I first got there, everybody was talking about, Charlie, he's okay. He takes shots. Sometimes he's inconsistent, and he needs to work on his leadership skills. But when I got him and was able to get him, he was all-stater for us. He led. He made some amazing shots. He did really good. And then Kyle Ingram, a kid that was there when I first got the job, and he was like, Coach, we're going to take this program to the next level. And I did my research on Kyle, and people were like, well, he got to work on his work ethic. He got to work on this. He got to work on that. And Kyle, he ended up taking us to state this year, and he was an all-stater and first-team all-conference. So seeing him, and then he got to go to college. He's going to college. He's going to UIS. So seeing his improvement from where people projected him to be into where he came, and then taking us to state. And we was hoping to see Chicago but we didn't get that chance. But just seeing him improve, those three guys is some of the biggest improvements I've seen since I've been in high school.
Tim, I was rooting for you too.
You was rooting for me?
Yeah, because I ain't want them to win 4 state championships. I want
The guy's selfish. He's just selfish. He wants to have all 6 rings by himself. It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
No, you know I had ore, but if you'd have won,
He wouldn't have been mad.
We hoping to get enough. We hoping to get a few more shots at that.
Oh, here we go.
This still count. I don't care what nobody say. It counts to me.
So you saying this count as 4 for him?
No. Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
What he saying? That's what Lou Adams said. Lou Adams said he had 4 this year.
Who said they had 4 this year?
Lou said he put 4 on the he won 4 trophies, man.
No, he can't say that. No trophies down there. They still got them trophies down.
I'm counting it as my 1.
Okay.
Oh.
Still got them trophies. So ain't no chance of boys. This year.
We got Final Four trophies.
Oh, that ain't no championship though.
It's just say
Who
final.
has the Final Four trophy? Who has the Final Four trophy?
Then, man.
Oh.
Final Four trophy.
Oh,
Final Four
What's
trophy?
going on
What is
here,
that?
man?
Hey, Tim Strong, man.
No one's ever pulled a trophy out in this podcast before. This is gonna be a first.
No.
The
How
name,
do you have a
Final Four trophy.
What is a Final Four trophy?
the name of this, Blake. The name of this podcast is 13 Rings, and Tim go get a Final Four trophy. Don't put yourself out there.
Backfire. Don't
you know
do
what?
it. Don't do it.
Oh, now, come on, man. Come on.
Gary,
LT,
I can't even heavy.
take the reins here.
What is that?
It's
I
not
see, Tim, you can't do that.
That's the little 2A trophy. It don't weigh as much as the other one.
Oh no!
Yeah. You know what?
Oh no!
Okay,
The
so I
little
guess what we
trophy don't weigh
turn.
as much, man.
So what we digress to is 13 rings and a Final Four trophy.
And he's young. He's gonna build on it.
That was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah, we're good with it.
LT, we still need your player. Who do you see?
Well, I'm gonna go up. Well, first of all, my son. First of all, but because he got better every year when people. I was assistant coach his first 3 years, and I was able to coach him his senior year. But he got better every year because in Springfield, people like he only playing because his dad is the assistant coach or whatever. So I like the fact that he proved them wrong and went about his business and he elevated his game every year. But I'm gonna go with Terrion Murdix because Terrion Murdix came in and he was always a confident kid, but he came in. He was shorter than me, but he always was confident and he played and he swallowed his ego because I was listening what Nick said. He played freshman basketball. It didn't bother him one bit. Then I had him then he played sophomore, and in the middle of his sophomore year, I think we went down to a shootout in Jeffersonville, Indiana, and we played against Berkmar High School, which was where I think the kid from Lawson or something from that plays with Indiana played there, and Terrion. That's the first time I kind of put him out there, and I seen his growth, and from that point on, his sophomore year, he just showed me that he was ready. And from that point on, Terrion started for me the last 2.5 years. So, if you're going to talk about somebody who, got better every year, I'm going to give it to Terrion Murdix because he came in and nobody knew him. Unlike LT, they knew him, but Terrion's name was not in a lot of people's mouth. So he just came on, he played, and he's one of Nick's favorite player. When he played for Irvin a couple of years ago, Nick would always call me and tell me about, I love Terrion. Mike loved Terrion. I love Terrion. Mike loved Terrion. So, Nick's at Western right now, and Terrion is at, he knows where he's at.
No, we can't bring that up though.
No. He can't. No, he can't. But I'm just saying.
The connection's dropping. I can't.
Yeah. Nick's aware of it.
Not in high school.
All right. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Terrion, you talk about a guy who just pure magician with the ball. And he had his coach's demeanor too. I mean, we've all seen those clips of, we saw like Larry Bird, in Last Dance when he was just like, totally locked in when everybody else is going nuts.
He proved his worth when Anthony Fairley went down at the his senior year at the holiday tournament, and Terrion just put the team on his back and just carried the team all the way to the end, and we lost to East St. Louis, who went on and won the
that was a crazy
title that year, the super sectional. But he showed his worth then that when you lose an all-stater, you just put the team on your back and just get it done. So
love it. Well, guys, we're going on the hour 40 mark here. This has been absolutely amazing. I think the topic for next time is, do we like the 4-class system? That could be something, if we ever have a chance to get together again. That could be a whole can of worms too. But before we start to wrap up, is there any closing thoughts anybody would like to share?
No, I want to thank the guys for coming on. I mean, this was good for us. I know, especially for me, because I mean, I've seen you guys coach, and I know who you are about so far, but never had a conversation with you guys and had a chance to be, chop it up with you guys. But this is great, breaking these bridges. We didn't get a chance to talk much about basketball like we would normally do, but it's good to hear, you guys' input and how you guys feel and the things that you're going through down in Springfield versus what we're going through up here. And it's all the same when you look at it. It's all the same. But it's just good to be able to do this. Like you said, we brought on a lot of guests, and so far everybody's been really good on here. Anything you need from me or any questions you have for me, you can always call or email me or whatever, and I get back to you. I'm not like Nick. I'll get back to you right away. But it's just good that Nick and Gordon put this together so we can do this. I think this is really huge. Building a great bond, with other guys that's not in the public league. We consider you guys friends now because you on here. Everybody haven't had the luxury of being on here. We're pretty sure some other people that do. So I just want to thank you guys for taking, the time out today. It's a beautiful day outside, like Ty outside on this deck. But just thank you guys for coming on.
Man, I appreciate the offer.
And I just wanted everybody to know, about y'all anyway. Because y'all, even though we've been in a lot of battles, wars, whatever they call it, but at the end of the day, y'all great men, y'all great people, and putting it together, I was on y'all side. It wasn't, they was like, oh, it's about the public league, no, it ain't always about the public league. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of great coaches around, and y'all some of them. Y'all some of them. Y'all always had great talent. And, win, lose, or draw, we always gonna be friends. We always gonna be there for each other, and that's what it's all about. That's what the brotherhood is all about coaching. And it's just bigger than Chicago basketball. It's about the whole state of Illinois. And, just thanks for y'all coming on and being a part of this. And now y'all can go beat up on Ty and Rob, and y'all can have y'all battles and wars and all that. So, I'm going to be in the stands watching it. So,
I don't know who your PI person is. Boy, he got you right.
Funny story. They play the 4A games after the 3A games at State, and when we went in 2017, I saw a group of people from Springfield going to the 4A game. I said, "Y'all late? Y'all at the wrong game." Said, "Oh, we went to college with Coach Slaughter. We here to support." So, it was Martha Jordan and some other people that came down to see. So I thought that was special, man. Y'all got the reach, man. But
we haven't won in so long. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, let me. I'm gonna make mine quick. This is to Blake and to LT. First of all, I want to thank all of you guys for being on, as I said at the beginning. But really, I have a couple things. This is really, really important. Blake and LT, as senior guys down there in Springfield, I want you all to work with Tim. Okay, no more fourth place trophies. No more fourth place trophies. You guys work with him. Okay, get him together. Get that young buck together. Make him understand that we don't do for. but very seriously, it has been fun, and I actually really, I think we've done it before, but I want to say it for me. Really, Gordon, I am just really, I am grateful for the relationship. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on this program with all these dynamic coaches that we've been on here with and that we're on here with today. But more importantly, I'm really thankful for you being the one, you and Nick, to kind of birth this and to give us this platform to have these kind of conversations, because I don't know where else we are doing this in our state. And so for that, I'm really thankful. I just want to thank you for that. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, you all are not the only people happy that Nick is gone. I'm happy, and so is Rob. So everybody's happy he's gone.
Good riddance, man.
Hey, we got something going on. Springfield versus Chicago. What it's about?
You know what? Now we don't
got
want to bring
behind
that
the
up
scene
today.
now.
We don't want to bring that up today. Now.
Bring it up.
We talked about that because, I mean, a couple years ago, you know, we thought about making a game, you know, having basically Chicago versus the state. And I don't know.
Man, y'all look like y'all ready.
We ready.
Now hold on. Now don't get ahead of your skis there, Mr. Turner.
Here we go.
Let's go.
We ready.
We're not gonna do this on here. You all let Nick put the cables on you. Yeah, he done left. He's left it up to Rob and I, and then he gonna go in there and stir the pot down.
It's in good hands. Everything in good hands.
Well, I'm gonna leave it on this. We want all the smoke.
Oh.
Okay, let's do it.
We like giving it out too.
Okay. Blue smoke. Okay.
Let's go. That's amazing.
You know what? I'm
Yeah,
gonna talk to old
you got
Rob when we get off this phone. And we gonna
Here it go.
Let's make it sound like Southeast Whitney Young Lanphier to me.
Like I told those young people a couple years ago, we have a lot of gas money up here. We will load up our buses and head down south. We're not afraid. We're not afraid.
Y'all made that big venue.
You guys have nice colors too, Lanphier.
Yes, sir.
Blake.
Yes, sir.
Blake.
Where do you want to do it?
Blake.
Hold on, we talking big boy basketball now.
Hold on, you can't forget about Lanphier. You can't forget about SHG. Hey, we coming. You know we coming.
Yeah, see if y'all can get like Plainfield East or somebody to come down and play everything.
No, we need the best.
You want some of Lou? You want some Chicago or Tim?
Chicago or we'll play Whitney Young, Chicago or it don't matter who we gotta play.
Wait, now we talk about 2A and 4A. That's different.
No, we playing 3A and 4A schedule.
We playing it's different.
We playing 3A and 4A schedule.
Here now, you don't want to do that.
No.
We're all about
We
harmony.
playing 3A and 4A schedule.
We don't want to end on a lack of harmony here. Building a consensus that we need more harmony in our society.
This has been the best part of the show.
Gordon, it sounds like you and Nick got a shootout to put together, man. Y'all need to get to work.
13 rings, huh?
The 13 Rings Classic.
Hey, it'll be 9 rings versus them.
Let's do it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Hey,
9 rings versus them.
We're gonna do it in
Me and Ty always keep a game for stuff like this.
campaign.
We keep a game for the talkers. We
Hey.
do.
Yeah.
Keep a game for the talkers.
Yep.
We try to get them people down
we have to
further south from y'all. They down in O'Fallon and them guys. We tried to get them guys because they were doing a little talking.
Okay.
And they couldn't get it together.
If we could do it without Chicago officials, I'm all in.
That's
and I
gonna be
agree with
better
you
for
on that
us.
one.
Yeah,
that's
That's better for us.
When I say
It
that,
got
Nick.
better now. I feel better about the game.
What? Okay. Here's the honest truth. I talked to Illinois State's athletic director and head coach Dan Mueller, and he said that they would be open to letting us use Redbird Arena. He said that.
Fine with me. I win now, except when I'm playing normal. I win in Red Bay. That's why they pushed me back up here. I would start winning down there too. They pushed me back up to Chicago. They brought the was Edwardsville. I think they had lost one game.
Oh, was it the Mark Smith?
Yeah, they lost one game. They wrote us off.
All right. Well, I think we got something on our hands here. Maybe I'll repost that We Need a Game video, because this whole hour and a half has been all about proving that we need more opportunities like this to come together as a state. And if 13 rings could be the conduit for that, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that could be something that could be really good, though. I mean, just building that, and
I would love to.
Us going down there and then them coming up here, just that could actually be really good to just break some other boundaries too, and getting us to play against each other, which we don't do often unless it's state. For the most part, the only time we ever play against each other is in the state. So it wouldn't be something that I know me and Ty can probably work that out and try to help it go. And it could just grow to be something that's big,
Yeah.
We play at one time in Chicago, then we come down one time in Springfield and try to play 3 or 4 games, 3 or 4 different teams, and just have a big thing,
That'd be awesome.
Go versus Springfield. So it's something that we should get on the phone with and talk.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that would be good for us because it would help get us some extra wins.
Okay.
Hey, y'all forgot we cool with Nick. Nick got the recipe for y'all. I'm about to hit him up in a minute.
Well, he surely had the recipe this year for me. Yeah, he had the recipe this year.
Coach Smith, that'd be awesome though if we put that together. We'd love that. You know what I mean? Because it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about competition, man. That's what this is about. It's always about the kids. So we would love something like that.
Like I said, we can stay in contact, and
yes.
I'm pretty sure me and Ty, we love to play on the road more than we do at home anyway. So we can get some other guys involved. Make sure guys got games available. If you guys got games available, and we could just try to match it up the best way we could, with who has who with players and stuff like that. And then we could come down, and the next year you guys can come up. How we want to do it, we just need to get on the phone and try to see if we can make it work.
This the part I'm missing already. I wanted that action. Oh, that's
But maybe we'll do it when we know it's an open period and you can come watch.
Oh, yeah, make sure it's that, because I'm going to be in the stands, man. I'm going to be right there watching.
Here's the crazy part. You talk about closed doors being a blessing in your life. Nick, if you and I would have worked that game out, do you know when that would have been?
When?
That would have been this April.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning we would have worked for 2 years for a game that would have been canceled, and we might have never been able to do it. You talk about a closed door being a blessing.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe the timing just wasn't right. Maybe the timing is right now.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be real good.
All right, let's do it. Man, I'm excited now. This is great. I love it. Guys, thank you so much for spending 2 hours on a beautiful.
Wait, Gordon. The young buck wanted to say something. Tim was trying to say something.
Final four trophy.
Yeah, we're gonna call him Tim 4. That's what we're gonna call him. Yes, sir. T4.
Poor Tim.
Oh, but being serious, it's a blessing to have this opportunity to be on the show with such great coaches. I'm just getting started. I brought that trophy down here for a joke. I've been humbled by LT. I've been humbled by Blake. I support Springfield basketball. We got a lot of talent, especially in the age groups that we got coming up. I've watched you guys as coach from afar, and I've watched you guys close up. I watched the highlight videos, and you guys do amazing. I love this podcast. It's amazing. I'm blessed to get an opportunity to be on here. You got a spot in your showcase or your classic. We got boys that can compete, so just remember us, and thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I want to echo what Tim said too. I appreciate being on this panel today. I've always admired you guys up close and from afar. You run a first class program. You got first class. I've been around your kids. Coach Ty, we was together the other year when we had the banquet. I don't know how y'all got so much money on the purse string, because me and Nick, our teams in there look like something. We look like high school kids. You had kids in there look like y'all Division I college.
Well, you have to look good when you're not good. You have to look good
I'm like,
when you're
what?
not good.
So I was pretty impressed with that, Coach Ty, the way your kids looked at the banquet. I'm like, whoa, okay, they got different.
But did you come to the game not so impressed? I'm sure. Yeah,
No.
I would have rather looked bad but played better. You know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but this was great today. So I enjoyed it, and all I want to say is everybody keep doing what you're doing and do it better.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys.